Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to exorcise the subscribe button, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, as the gang walk through the school, Saikyou suddenly asks if Onmyouji would like to meet his family, which Yifa misinterprets as a marriage proposal. But Saikyou clears it up, as it's his father that wants to meet this mysterious swordsman, capable of wielding 4 affinities. Accepting, Mabel is also asked to join, only for Saikyou to head elsewhere, chatting to Yuki and revealing that there is someone important that wants to see Onmyouji for themselves, and that it must be something political. Greeting his brother Luft wonders why Saikyou looks unwell, but Saikyou brushes it off as him being a little sick due to the carriages. Complimenting his mature older brother, Saikyou introduces both Onmyouji and Mabel, only for Luft to return the favor. As a man, Edis welcomes Saikyou and Yifa home. It's revealed that Edis is Yifa's father. Seeing Yifa grow more mature, Luft can't help but compliment her, but suddenly Glai calls out to Saikyou. Happy to see his brother, Saikyou compliments Glai's sleek armor, which Glai mentions that he must thank Saikyou, as he didn't expect to enjoy training to be a soldier, and that he would rather fight all day than study. Still holding a grudge, after his humiliating defeat, Glai challenges Saikyou to a rematch, only for Onmyouji to learn that Glai used to bully Yifa. Stepping in, Onmyouji asks to fight in place of Saikyou, but Glai is clearly against, until Saikyou promises to duel him if he wins. Agreeing, Glai has Saikyou referee the match, stating that no magic is allowed. Allowing Onmyouji to use a real sword, Glai states that all he needs is a wooden sword, which triggers Onmyouji. In the duel beginning, Onmyouji goes on the offensive, pushing Glai back. But when Glai is about to lose, he pretends to cast a spell, only to disarm Onmyouji and win. Calling Glai out for cheating, Glai mentions that he didn't actually cast a spell, and that in the battlefield, using tricks is more important than losing one's life. Turning to Saikyou, Glai talks about how he knows Saikyou won the mixed combat tournament, which gets Saikyou to accept the duel. Suddenly, a mysterious princess trots onto the field, prompting Glai to question why she's here, and with no one watching her. Having slipped past her guards, the princess hints at the fact that a knight's honor would be tainted, no matter what defeat they suffer, which Glai is forced to agree with, calling off the duel. Wanting to learn about Saikyou's gang, it's revealed that the girl is Princess Fiona Allegelife, a holy princess. Apparently, Fiona was deemed the holy princess, as she was birthed by a priestess whilst having the emperor as her father. Asking about the princess's reason for visiting, they learn that Fiona is here to meet Onmyouji, learning about her high ranking in the school, not only academically, but magically and physically. Noting Onmyouji's gorgeous red hair and green eyes, Fiona offhandedly mentions her deceased mother, but quickly changes the subject. Hoping to get along with the gang, the princess leaves, as Onmyouji questions whether Saikyou knew the princess would be here, but didn't tell anyone. During dinner, Fiona talks about wanting to fly, and she would like to be some sort of animal with the capability. When Saikyou offers a bird, Fiona says she would prefer something more powerful, like a dragon. Having met one himself, Saikyou recounts his and Yifa's adventure to Asteria, which gets the princess interested in Yifa's and Saikyou's relationship. Switching topics, Fiona talks about the genius of Saikyou's school, willing to enroll any child, no matter their status, and valuing magic highly. At the end of the table, Saikyou's father stares at Saikyou, flashing back to when his father asks Edis whether he's mad that they sent Yifa off to school. But Edis says that he's mad that Yifa is a slave to Saikyou, as Edis senses something strange from Saikyou. Thanking Saikyou for taking care of the dragons, his father says that news has spread of Saikyou's accomplishments, proud that his son is finding his own path in life. Before dinner ends, Saikyou is surprised, when his mother suddenly talks to Saikyou. Alone with his room, Yuki talks about how the princess was saying weird things, which Saikyou agrees, but states that in his past life, his wife was similar. Before Yuki can learn about his past wife, Onmyouji barges in, forgetting to knock. Laying on Saikyou's bed, the two begin to chat, as they talk about plans for the future. Learning that Onmyouji will probably set her sights on becoming an adventurer, Saikyou reveals that he will be joining her, as that was what he had promised. Asking if Onmyouji would show him the ropes, Onmyouji gleefully agrees, bidding him good night. Before heading off, Yuki reminds Saikyou to not stand out too much. The next morning while Mabel is still asleep, the princess, Glai, Saikyou and Onmyouji head into town, where Saikyou is showing the princess around. Knowing that the princess didn't want any guards around her, Saikyou realizes that he and Glai will have to protect the princess if anything were to arise. Entering a more crowded area, the princess suddenly grabs Saikyou's hand, pretending to be on a date. But Saikyou worries that this may tarnish her reputation, which she brushes off, asking Glai to buy them some food. Noticing people watching them, the princess spots a couple, wondering how two people fall in love. Saying that entails, usually after someone is saved, the two would fall in love, but the princess has always had to overcome her own challenges, wishing for the day someone comes and saves her. As they move onto a construction site, Onmyouji calls the two lovebirds out from holding hands, but they continue, as the princess rushes onto the site. With a pile of wood suddenly falling onto Saikyou and the princess, Glai quickly casts a wind spell to break the wood, as Onmyouji conjures an earth spell, to shield them from the debris. Wondering why Saikyou didn't protect himself, the princess shows disappointment, wanting to be saved by Saikyou. Before heading home, Saikyou gives the princess a hair tie, even conjuring a mirror to show off her new look. That evening, Saikyou praises Glai's hard work, constantly training, explaining how he became a holy knight. But Glai stops Saikyou, stating that he was not chosen because of his skills, but because the princess needs him for something else, being a master at manipulating politics. Apparently, Fiona's mother was an oracle, able to see into the future, and it seems the princess has similar traits, speaking of a hero and the demon king. Which Glai used to deduce that Onmyouji was the hero. Warning Saikyou to not grow too close, Glai heads off. Hearing the princess wanting to spend time with Saikyou frowns as he wants to learn more about Fiona's fortune-telling. But Yuki wonders why, as Saikyou himself can see the future, but Saikyou reveals that fortune-tellers can only see some information about the future, whereas Saikyou can see all of it. Nonetheless, Saikyou still intends to not get too involved. Running into Onmyouji, Saikyou learns that Glai has been helping her with her sword skill, but is surprised to learn that Onmyouji has yet to win a single duel against Glai. Knowing that Saikyou is hiding from the princess, Onmyouji says that Saikyou should at least spend some time with her, as tomorrow is the day they depart. Seeing the princess playing chess alone, Saikyou learns that the princess is currently undefeated. Asking to play Saikyou, the princess learns that Saikyou is a beginner, so she will remove some of her pieces from the start, to make it more fair. Additionally, Fiona asks to bet something, where the loser must do any one thing the winner decides, but the loser can reject the request if it seems too far-fetched. Since the bet is reasonable, Saikyou plays Fiona. Chatting, Fiona asks if Saikyou knows what is the strongest chess piece in the world, only for Saikyou to ponder, responding that it must be the people controlling the others, like politicians sitting in safety, as soldiers go off to war. Surprised with Saikyou's answer, the princess reveals that she personally believes that the strongest people are those who are unknown. This is because if someone is unable to anticipate everything, they are bound to lose to something. Since those around Fiona all have status, and armies by their side, the princess states that she's been trying to grow her name, suddenly declaring that she would win the match. Not surprised, Saikyou says that he realized that the princess had stopped Glai and Saikyou's match the other day, because she knew Saikyou would win, and that Glai and kinda revealed her secret. But the princess seemed ecstatic, as she was going to tell Saikyou eventually, but didn't know how to. Continuing their game, Saikyou is clearly losing, but sticks it out till the end, commending the princess. Wondering why Saikyou doesn't think it's unfair for her to be using her foresight, Saikyou states that it still counts as her own strength, but it would be nice to learn about one of her fears, and what she is thinking. In her past, Fiona had always feared stew, as when she was younger she believed that eating too much bread would one day mean she would have a loaf of bread growing in her belly. Hearing the adorable and innocent thinking, Saikyou teases the princess, only for her to talk about one of her foresights. Using a child as an example, she states that she knows of someone doomed to fail, but she wants to save them. Leaving it at that, she allows Saikyou to interpret her thoughts how he will, fearing that the future may change. Before parting, Saikyou promises to help her any way he can, only for the princess to say she'll think of something for Saikyou to do, as per their bet. Elsewhere in a forest, we see the 5 mysterious monsters: Zor the swordsman, Mudrev the strongest ogre, Loni a powerful tamer, Pyrshlaria a evil eye user, and Gulgani a candidate to become the head of his clan. Wanting everyone around him to grow stronger, Zor tells everyone to eat up, uttering that he has the ability to see others' potential. With departure day arriving, Luft wishes Saikyou the best, saying that he should think about future careers, but Saikyou chooses to hide that he wants to become an adventurer. Next, thanking Yifa for his hard work, Luft wishes Yifa the best, whilst also offering Onmyouji and Mabel to come by anytime. Wondering where Mabel has been, Saikyou learns that Mabel had been sleeping all day, wanting to marry a noble, and slacking around all day. With Gly rushing the gang, Gly neglects Luft, as they'll probably see each other in the future, prompting Fiona to tease Gly about his possible death. Bidding Luft farewell, everyone heads off. With Saikyou, Gly and Fiona as one carriage, Gly notes how quiet Saikyou gets, as he's clearly not used to the movement of the carriage. Wondering how Gly can both watch over the princess, and be head of his soldiers, Saikyou wonders what types of bandits people normally encounter, only to hear one of their empty carriages, placed as bait, being blown up. Hopping on top of his carriage, Saikyou spots the bandits' leader, upon a hill, commanding his men to spread out and target different carriages, all whilst their archers channeling a magnetic cloud. Saikyou is able to stop the enemy's arrow, prompting a sorcerer to cast a spell, with no effect on Saikyou's barrier. Realizing that most of the carriages are decoys, the leader chooses to focus on Saikyou, but Gly makes a courageous entrance, rallying his men, and having them easily attack the enemy. Hearing the princess wants to keep the men alive, Saikyou swiftly restrains all of them, ending the battle. Realizing that there was something suspicious, the three girls had turned around, but by the time they arrived, Saikyou had already restrained them all. But one thing is suspicious, as the enemy had chosen to attack, when they knew there would be knights protecting the carriages. Chatting to the princess privately, Saikyou learns that the men are assassins, and that one of her rivals must have sent them after her. Wondering if they were all coming back to the capital, the princess says yes, as that is the reason for all the decoy carriages, having anticipated everything. Worried that one of them might break free and try to attack, the princess reveals that the captured are planning to meet up with reinforcements, so they'll wait for the right time. But the princess knows that reinforcements will never come, as they were slain by Zor and his 4 monsters. Arriving at the entrance of the town, the gang chat with the princess, as Fiona thanks everyone for being so welcoming to her. As it's time to leave, Fiona hints at meeting Onmyouji again, only to tell Saikyou to not forget that she is always on his side. In the dead of night, we see Zor and his members rushing through the forest, as Zor states that their mission is to kill the hero, only to return home safe. Hearing each of them have their own ambitions, they arrive near the school. Having returned to the school, Saikyou speaks with the principal, who asks for Saikyou with an upcoming ceremony. Knowing that it may help him for future jobs, Saikyou accepts, but as Saikyou chats with Yuki, Saikyou states that is tired of always being afraid of standing out, and now he would act normally, and if something happens, he'll handle it without anyone seeing. Following Zor, we see him assess the school, knowing that there shouldn't be any adventurers or real threats that'll be able to get in their way. Turning to his team, he rehashes the plan, asking for the 4 of them to attack the school from all 4 corners, driving the students towards the center, where they'll be able to wipe them all out. Additionally, if any of them were to spot the hero, they would signal everyone else. Ending off the speech, Zor states that after the mission, they'll all be renowned among the demon race. Seeing the low knee pumped for their mission, the Mudrev chimes in telling them of one of his courageous adventures. But before he can ramble on, Zor has Gull begin an incantation, splitting them up, across the school. Following Gull, he notices a thick red smog, obscuring his vision. Noticing some students, Gull apologizes, as he lets loose a powerful spell, but notes something is off. Following the low knee, and the Pyrshlaria, they make use of the low knee's navigation ability, easily moving through the smog. Chatting about the past, Pyrshlaria compliments Low Knee, having been the weakest in their party, but recently the Low Knee has grown stronger, being able to make use of their monsters. Replying, Low Knee learns that Pyrshlaria has been more energetic recently, knowing that if they slay the hero, she'll be able to tell her parents about her accomplishments. But suddenly, Low spots a student, sending wolves after the child, but when Low calls for the wolves to come back, Low receives something strange. Next, Mudrev is seen slowly making his way around the school, not wanting to stand out, and give away his presence. Suddenly, Mudrev blocks several daggers, calling out the attacker to come out. Impressed by Mabel's strength, Compared to her little figure, Murderev challenges her, whilst Mabel notes that she has never seen an ogre before. Swiping at Murderev's feet, Mabel watches as Mudrev leaps into the air, bringing his... Seeing Mabel only defending, Mudrev is caught off guard, when Mabel changes the gravity of her axe, forcing him to back off. When the two clash weapons, Mudrev is able to disarm Mabel, but he fell for her trap, as she encases Mudrev in dark magic. But Mudrev breaks free, having learned from Zor that he's immune to all types of magic. As Mabel attempts to back off, Mudrev smashes Mabel, only to realize that she is gone, and instead there is a talisman alone. Cutting to Gull and Zor, we see the two realize that they've both wound up in the same location, but it's not where they were aiming for. A few seconds later, Mudrev, Lo and Pyrshlaria all mysteriously join them, all noting how strange the humans they encountered were. Hearing that they all encountered talismans, they all turn to hear Saikyou recounting a poem, as he levitates above them all. As Zor prepares to attack, he first scans Saikyou's potential, only to freeze in place. With Mudrev attempting to challenge Saikyou, his head is suddenly cut off, as Saikyou is seen fiddling with one of his talismans, meant to represent Murderev's body. Noting how weak Mudrev was, Saikyou taunts the others, stating how weak Mudrev was against Saikyou's curses. Enraged Pyrshlaria flies into the air, attempting to enchant Saikyou with her evil eye, but Saikyou welcomes the challenge, bringing out a white snake that glares at Pyrshlaria. Suddenly, Pyrshlaria starts to act up, suddenly collapsing to the ground, as Lo rushes to check on Pyrshlaria, all whilst Saikyou announces that her heart has stopped beating. Looking at the snake, the others are shocked to see the white snake has no eyes, wondering how powerful the creature is. Before Saikyou can tell them about the white snake's history, Lo brings out his own summon, distracting the snake long enough to get close. Speaking to the creature, Lo reasons that they should become friends, but Zor realizes that it's pointless, as the white snake devours Lo. Saikyou reveals that the white snake can't easily be tamed, all whilst Zor thinks about how pointless it was from the start. When Gull asks for what Zor sees, Zor states that Saikyou has the same capabilities as the Demon King himself. Hearing that, Gull asks for Zor to run, but Zor states that it would be better for Gull to flee with his teleportation magic, and to not let the team die in vain. Having heard enough, Saikyou lets out a huge wave of lava, as Zor buys time for Gull. Having barely made it out alive, Gull is unable to accept the fact that Saikyou is a student. Back with Saikyou, we see him sad that he didn't wipe them all out, but doesn't care, as he doesn't see them as threats. Hearing Yuki quiver in fear, Saikyou reassures her that he wasn't taking the battle seriously, only to see Mabel running to him. Demanding Saikyou to show her where Mudrev is, Saikyou realizes that Mabel has been worried about assassins hunting her down, but still prioritizes the lives of others over hers. Comforting her, Saikyou reveals that he had dealt with the ogre, and to not tell anyone about it. Back at the dining hall, we see the gang chatting with Saikyou, as if nothing had happened. Apparently Saikyou is tasked with giving a speech to the school, just like what Onmyouji had to do in their opening ceremony. Asking for advice, Onmyouji says that she wasn't nervous, and that she said what she personally believes, but if she were to do it again, she would probably be nervous. Before Saikyou is able to present, several knights, under Marquis Gravel barge in, demanding for Onmyouji. When Onmyouji speaks up, the knights reveal that she is under arrest, having slain a demon visitor yesterday, which Saikyou finds suspicious. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like and comment.